Welcome back to Launch Your Light. This is a podcast that covers the soul and strategy of running a business and sharing your heart's work with the world. I am so excited to bring another guest on here for you ladies today. Today, we're going to be speaking with Cathy Tallone. She is a certified transformational life coach. She's an author, a speaker, and the host of And Then What Happened. I can't wait to hear about where that name came from. She has her own podcast where women share their amazing stories of surviving and thriving when faced with life challenges. Curiosity, courage, and an unshakable belief that life is meant to be fully lived. I agree with you. I loved hearing about that you went from beach bum to ski bum. You are a New York City career woman. I feel you there. Fine wine expert. Okay. Healer, coach, and now guide for other women who are ready to rewrite their story. Like, I'm so excited to have you on here and talk about that. So welcome to the show, Cathy.
Well, thanks for having me, Jayme. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes. Okay. We always start with like a little bit of story. How did you go from, we're recording right now, you're in Costa Rica and you've been living there for 4 years. So we will get to that. But where did you start? I'm seeing career woman, New York City, wine expert. Like, how did you go from that to that?
Oh my gosh, Jayme. Honestly, it's easy to say, but when I turn around and look back, like none of it makes sense. But I honestly, and this is cliche and probably annoying, but like divinely led. Mm-hmm. It was just like, oh, now I'm doing this. Okay, I guess now I'm doing that. I never fit in a box. Throughout my life in school, I always was in trouble. I was incredibly curious, always asking why. I drove people crazy. I made a lot of people very, very uncomfortable. And I basically just decided, well, I guess I'm on my own kind of path here, and that's what I did. I never finished college. When I was 22 years old, a friend of mine and myself, we just knew we had to break free. Like we just knew it. And we hopped in my little red Hyundai. And at that time, we had to send away and we got, they called it triptychs from AAA. I mean, really, I'm dating myself with this. But we had a map to go from Massachusetts down to South Carolina. Of course, there was no, GPS or anything like that then. We got our little bag of dimes to call our parents.
Oh my God.
Moved to Hilton Head, South Carolina at 22 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's kind of where the adventure started.
Ooh. How did that lead you back up to New York City? And when did, I guess this is a double question, but like, when did the soul mission and the soul work start to pop on? When did that start to flare up inside of you?
Yeah.
For the years.
Again, I think it's all one, right? Yeah. I was a beach bum and a ski bum for years. I love watching people. I am just like, a people watcher. I love observing people's behaviors. And I learned that a lot when I became a waitress in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Then I was a beach bum in Steamboat, Colorado, and the same thing. I just really loved connecting with people. I loved networking. And again, I didn't know it at the time, but that was so spiritual for me. That was such a connection, kind of, collective connection, I guess.
Absolutely.
I moved. Well, then I was in hospitality. Then I moved to Manhattan and I was selling wine. But once that was over, when I hit 30, I was kind of like, Jesus, what am I doing? And I moved back to Boston a little bit defeated. And, fortunately, not too long after that, I met my husband and got married quickly and had a baby. And that's really, if that's your question, that's really when, my intentional spiritual awakening happened. That was the bumpy road that kind of connected me to my higher mission.
Mm-hmm. And then, so how long after that were you like, I'm going to be a coach? And I love how kids, it sounds like you're saying, like turning into a mother really awakens something even deeper within you, which I totally agree on that, right? And then like a whole new depth of the path is illuminated, right? And I know in your bio, I read a lot about like women empowerment. When through those baby making years, those child making years, right? Is that when you went like a little bit deeper working with women and wanting to become a coach?
Not at all. Isn't that funny? I know. Well, because I worked in the corporate field and I was, in hospitality, then I was selling wine. I was in a very kind of, I don't know, maybe not a man's world, but I definitely
Yes.
leaned into like
Yeah.
hanging out with men, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of women have this story, at least a lot of women that I'm friends with. We hung out with the guys and we were drinking and we were, all of it, all of it.
Yeah.
And when I got married and had my first son, truly, I didn't have like women connection,
Mm.
and I do say that when I had my son, he gave me the keys to the universe. Like I saw God for the first time, just like this greater, you know, spiritual
Yeah.
entity or whatever anybody calls it.
Oh, you're on the right you're on the right podcast. You can speak to me about all of this.
Yeah. And yeah, so through all of that, I mean, a lot of women kind of came to me unexpected,
Cool.
doulas and chiropractors and,
Yeah.
midwives and all of this. And honestly, I was like, after it was said and done, I kind of looked up and I was like, well, holy shit, look at all these women here. And really that I remember as a pivotal moment to say, okay, I guess, doing shots and winding up in bed with all these guys, maybe we can try something different now that I have a kid, so.
I love you. We have a lot in common. Like I said, okay, because I think we're like so alike. Like I was also like the troublemaker. I was always getting in trouble. I'm like, how am I gonna get through my youth? God, could I? My mom was just like, let's just keep her alive. Like, can I just get her to stay alive until 18? But I, like a soul like that usually has big things to do and needs to learn and bump up against the thing and have experiences. And it sounds like you were that as well, right? And then all of a sudden, right? I'm guessing this is similar for you. People just came to you. They came to you for advice. They wanted to talk to you. They wanted to share their this and that with you. Your eyes are getting big, right? So is that what shifted you to becoming a coach and being like, you know what? I need to get certified in this.
So when my son was about 2 years old, I actually, because of all these women who showed up, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to be a doula. Now I'm selling wine. I was still selling wine at the time and out in the bars, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't in alignment. So when my son was 2, literally got the calling that, hey, girl, like you're going to be a massage therapist. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What? I was just living in Manhattan with my Ann Taylor suits on, selling wine. And now here I am, like, rubbing people's feet. But that was it. And it was a huge transformation. And it was incredibly spiritual. So that's how I started that. I became a Reiki master, got into kind of that whole space. And that was a bumpy, rocky road. And then it was many years later is when the coaching kind of came in. So I felt, I was very, very attuned. I'm very intuitive. And it's taken me a long time to actually say that. But yes, I am. I mean, we all are, right? Intuitive. I just lost my my intuitiveness just lost my train of thought. But
with the coaching and how that led
with
you.
the coaching, yeah. So I was really like into the energetics of massage, my intuitive massage, and then all the energy healing. And somehow the timing was right, and it just morphed right into transformational life coaching. I found an incredible program, an accelerated program, and because of my years and years and years of watching people and really plugging into behaviors and being super, super curious, and also walking that path, like you said earlier, just like bumping up against everything, I mean, I lived, and it sounds like you did too, lived so much of my life outside my comfort zone. So I was literally uncomfortable all the time, right? Creating and stepping into it and creating and stepping into it. And that's what I help women with now, kind of being courageous to step into their bright light. So.
You are on the right show. Yes. What are your favorite topics or themes or
Mm.
life situations to work with women on?
Stories, 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 stories. I love stories. I'm obsessed with people's stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go deeper on that because I'm like,
Yeah.
we don't really know each other, but this is the fun part of like just getting all these calls with people and learning and being like realizing why we're magnetized to each other. I'm I'm my bloodline is Celtic, Irish, Scottish, and we are like the storytellers. And I follow Druidry. It's an ancient spiritual connection to the land. It's like the ancient Irish Celtic spirituality, right? Let's say. And as Druids, like there's the whole bardic grade, and they were the storytellers, right? And really, every ancient civilization was based in story. That's how we taught, that's how we learned, that's how we connected, that's how we grew, evolved, learned about the next level, were initiated everything. So what do you love about story? Like what is it about story? Because it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. And the species of humans, you know what I mean? This is big. And I'm pretty sure on your podcast you share women's stories.
I do.
Right. So
Actually, they share their stories. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What called you
It's
to that?
fascinating. And I do. I mean, we talked about the transformation from hanging out with men into women.
Mhm.
And, why do I work only with women? Because I love their stories.
Mm.
And they're messy, and they're magical, and they're intuitive. And they've been, I am not one at all to be like down with the patriarch. Like I am not about that at all. I am
Same.
about let's have women rise.
Yes.
And like you're saying, through stories, but not just through the stories, but about like what stories are you not telling? What stories were you told not to share?
Yes.
And who said that?
Mm.
And they didn't have the tools at the time, so we can throw them a ton of compassion. But let's take that and let's find you in this story, whether it's generational or I have a whole list of 6 different types of stories that we, and I say as women, because that's what I work with women, that we lean into, and generational or adopted truths, somatic stories. So many of the stories live in our bodies, right? And there's so many different ways to peel these back. So I just find through my coaching, I'm a mirror. Right now, you and I are mirrors for each other. We're saying things differently, and that helps us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like, I can see your face, you're glowing, and I hope I am. Like, we're doing this together right now. We're co-creating something magical. And I feel like that's what women do when we're together.
You're making me want to strip down, run through a forest and howl.
Let's do it.
Okay. Okay, can we go over now? Because we'll keep going back and forth with subjects, but you're recording this from Costa Rica and you're living people's dreams, and I'm guessing you're living your dream. How did you get there? What? Because I feel like that's a dope, badass jump to go, you know what? That there, I'm doing it. We're moving the whole family. Like, how'd that happen?
Again, looking back, I guess it looks really different than it did at the time. 5 years ago, we came to Costa Rica. It was March 2020. Yeah. Do we remember what happened 5 years ago, 2020? We were down here for the kids' vacation, and we were here for 12 days. And literally, as the 12 days, the 10th day or the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th day kind of rolled around, things, you could feel the intensity coming. And as much as I wanted to put my phone away when we were, out chasing waterfalls, I kept saying, like, something's really going on at home. Because if, you or your listeners, don't remember, it happened really fast, kind of the shutdown.
Yeah.
We left Costa Rica 2 days before everything shut down. And we went back to, we were living in New Hampshire at the time. So we went back to Logan Airport in Boston, and everything was just shut down and dark. And I guess if I were to say, because just over 12 months or 14 months later, we actually moved to Costa Rica. I feel like that time imprinted freedom. Freedom is one of my core values, and it imprinted freedom on my soul
Mhm.
And throughout, and it's a longer story that I won't get into right now, but throughout those months of choosing to homeschool my child and not get involved in the roller coaster ride at school and the
Yep.
parents and all of that, um, I started following other paths and was like, wow, I think we can do this.
Mm.
And, it was like green flag after green flag after green flag. And I guess it was supposed to, it was ultimately what we were supposed to do because there were really, really no red flags in our way. So we packed up. We literally moved, sold everything we owned.
Wow.
And yeah, we got here June 15th, 2021. And we've been here since.
The whole family?
The whole family. I have two sons. They're currently 17 years old and 11 years old. And my husband, we came with the dog. He's died, but I do have another dog that we adopted. Yeah. So it's been an adventure for sure.
I love hearing that it's like the whole family went. And how did the kids handle that? Because I think so many people go, no, we can't do things like that just yet. We have to keep them in school. We have to wait till they're done. Let's wait till they're done with
Yeah.
and I'm choosing the wild school, homeschooling, nature schooling route myself. I have a 2 and a 3-year-old. We're already in wild schools and it's offered up here in New England and in Rhode Island. We're our own magical little state where most people don't even know what we're doing in this state. LOL. We get away with a lot. LOL. But like, a lot of people will be like, no, they're in school. And then, like you brought them there. You were like, nope, we're going. So what? They were like 8 and 13 or something at that point or whatever their ages were when you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, exactly. My son just turned 8 and my other son just turned 14.
Right.
14, 15, 16.
How were they cool about it? I mean, kids.
Yeah.
But they have their own big feelings about things like that, where they're like, yeah, mom, let's leave everything and go on this adventure.
Surprisingly, yes. And again, that was one of the green flags, and I think that we were just in that, like the timing was just perfect for everything. So my oldest, he's a senior in high school right now, but in 5th grade, he went to a homeschool group. And then for middle school, he was in a private school. I homeschooled my then 2nd grader. So I never did well in school, so I was always kind of open for a different way.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Ooh. And then when you went down there, did they enter school there or did you keep going with the homeschooling?
No, they did enter different schools, and down here, there's so many different options for school.
Yeah.
Everyone does things differently. We have 2 different schedules. The Costa Rican schedule is different from the American schedule, but some are more American, or I should just say like North American schedule. So, and that's what I really love. There's not one way to do things. We're all in different systems down here. And I don't even like the word system. I don't know why I just used that, but we're all in different, we all do things differently. And nobody questions it ever, and that's how I really thrive.
And you're down on the beaches, right? I can't remember where you said you were, but are you on the water down there?
Our house is about a mile from the beach, from the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, in Playa Hermosa, just south of Jaco. Yeah, come on down and visit.
I went down to the center. I did a bunch of like the volcanoes. I ran with a bull in one of the rings. Those like we went to the center, so we didn't do the ocean. We were doing the center of it. And this was like back in 2009 or something. I went with a group of my college girlfriends and they have those like parties where everyone gets together and they have all the outside clubs and then lines of food trucks and everyone comes and parties in these centers. And we found out about it from our local driver and stuff like that. And we went and then they had the bull ring and I jumped in and I got interviewed in Spanish on their news station.
Wow.
That is so I was dressed up like a pinup girl because that was my style back then, back when I was like living in New York City. And I'm like speaking Spanish in the middle of a ring, getting chased by a fucking bull. And then people recognized me on the news. The rest of the trip we were there, they were like, I saw you on TV.
Wow, that's a crazy story. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have stories like that. LOL. That has not been shared on
Yeah.
the podcast yet, so that just came out. But from the nature to the food to the coffee, like, oh my God, it's a beautiful country.
Yeah, yeah, it sure is. And it's pretty wild moving to, I guess any country, but I can only speak of moving to this country. And, I mean, there's definitely a learning curve.
Yeah.
And almost 4 years later, I still think, we're learning every single day. And every single day I see something that I didn't see yesterday and go, yep, it's wild,
Wow.
Mm.
Okay, can we talk about your soul work now? So you're living down there, you moved the family, green flags, green lights all the way down. And now you get to coach from this gorgeous country and run your
Yes.
podcast, right? So you have your own coaching. Like, what's it a day in the life of a coach living in Costa Rica, working with women on a transformational, empowerment, emotional storytelling level?
So I think you can understand and connect and resonate with the entrepreneurial life, right? So there's so many, it has to do with physical and spiritual and emotional, right? It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have my favorite thing to do is one-on-one clients. My signature program is 12 weeks. It's literally to get you from here to there. And, we hold hands and I'm a partner in believing and like, it's magical. That is it. I do my podcast once or twice a month. And I'm really obsessed with it, and I'm so appreciative and grateful that you have me on your podcast, especially because there's like an overlap. And I love that. Again, going just back to kind of, sisterhood, telling stories.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And then sometimes I'm working out with friends. Sometimes I'm taking the dog for a walk. It changes. And, I like that too, because I'm creative and sometimes all of this isn't linear, right? So what does my everyday look like? Very, very different. I'm working on my business and working on all the dreams and visions that we're stepping into and, cooking dinner for the millionth time. So.
I love that you brought up with the entrepreneurial stuff because like literally that's why I wrote a book that it's also called Launch Your Light. And I'm doing the behind the scenes self-publishing. I made an ebook. So it's just like a nice, beautiful way for people to work with me right away while I do all the self-publishing work on the background. So I want to talk about your authorship for sure. But like I love on these podcast episodes, I always ask, sounds great. It sounds magical. Can you please share? Yeah, look at your face. Like, can you please share some of the blocks or just obstacles you had to overcome on this path? And now we're hearing you did it in another country. So, off the top of your head, what are some of the blocks or things that you faced while putting yourself out there, getting this work out there, and being an entrepreneur?
So, without going back too far, I was living on the seacoast in New Hampshire and things were really, really going great. I was in a lot of different networking groups. I was in, with men and women and also just women. And things felt, looking back, felt very solid, I guess. And COVID blew a lot of things up for a lot of people. My audience splintered, and even the women in my community, their problems, their struggles were so much different than they were before COVID. So just saying that and then moving, to Costa Rica, building so many different things up. And as an entrepreneur, we're always just navigating different challenges. So getting back into a groove of navigating challenges was a challenge, right? And it's just, okay, now I'm going to rebuild a community. Well, what does that look like? So in a way, I felt like I started over, but I was a different person also. So I think that's, what needed to be done. Being an entrepreneur is it's not for everyone.
Mm-mm.
It's not for everyone,
I
you know,
agree.
and it does, like you said, it does look magical and fun. And it's kind of like being a mother or you know, thinking about what it, or judging other mothers before you're a mother, right? You're like,
Right.
oh yeah, you must have tons of time on your hands, and
Right.
wow, it must be the greatest thing in the world. It's kind of like that. And you're like, the reality of it is I'm alone, you know, I am trying to create a routine, keep myself structured, all of these different things, you know, in an environment here. And this is just my struggle. I don't think it's, you know, any more difficult than yours or someone else's, just different.
Yeah.
You know, navigating that here with trying to make new friends and figuring out different systems and all of that. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I don't think what is being an entrepreneur has any defined, you know, answer, because it, in my mind, there's, you know, there's no structure to it.
Right.
I mean, it's all what we make it, right?
Yeah. I always say entrepreneurship or small business, but on those same levels, it is the most advanced self-help process you will ever bring yourself through, ever. It's the largest self-healing. Like, you want a fast track of growth, go launch an idea into the world, share it as far and wide, and then try to make money. And you will come up against every fucking shadow, block, issue, fear you have ever had in your body and be faced with it on almost a daily basis. This is not for everyone.
And on a daily basis, and sometimes all night long as well, right?
Right. Right. Like,
Staring at the ceiling.
a wild roller coaster. And you almost like, when in here, you're like, why would anyone do this? This is insane. And then, this is my job, Cathy. This is what I do. I help people with this. And I call it, like, sometimes it's a nagging soul calling, right? Sometimes it's deep intuition being like, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to, right? Or it's just the universe, like, boom, striking you with inspiration. So we feel kind of crazy. But when we hear about you and me and our past, it's like, oh yeah, we'd be bored otherwise.
Totally. And, you know, there's all different types of entrepreneurs. Obviously, you and I being coaches, I feel a lot like it's kind of like parallel to like the carpenter whose house is never finished, right? It's just like we're always trying to, you know, get better. And the more we get better, the more we get better. And we're always changing. So at least for me, it's like everything I want to bring out into the world, in a sense, changes constantly because I'm changing. And to always not, I guess, to contain it. Like I always feel like I need to contain it. Yeah. So, I mean, clearly I can't even verbalize it, you know, and that's how it feels.
That's why I like this true speaking part to this. And I ask all of the women that I have on with this, how deep it is, how intense how real it is. And some people are born for this path. I think some of us were really, like, soul purpose wise destined to kind of do this. Not kind of, to do it. But also,
Right.
I like to have other women on the show too, because sometimes we need a lot of people helping and supporting other people's ideas. I agree with you. This is not for everyone. And we don't need everyone being their own entrepreneur. A lot of people have a lot of great ideas and they need support and they need help. And we can be part of those collective experiences, those businesses, those great ideas, those great products. And we're all needed on that level. But apparently I like to work with the me's and the you's of the group who have those crazy things that are like, I got to do it. Okay. Speaking of that, you wrote a book. Are you you're a published author?
Well, I've written 2 chapters in 2 different books. So they were both collaborative books.
Yes. What were they about?
The first book that I was asked to, it's a funny story. I was up in Cape Cod for my yearly family vacation, like my whole family's there. And a woman introduced me to another woman, of course. And her book was called Warrior Women. And I was on vacation, you know, maybe I had like, you know, glass of wine in my hand. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Totally. I'll definitely write a story. Yep, sure. Here's the money. And, I came back to Costa Rica. I was like, what the hell did I just do? And probably like you, I'm imagining, like you say yes and then figure it out, right? Because that's what we are. We're just creators. They're like, oh, that sounds like a really great idea. And so that's what I did, and it was that was a year and a half ago. And it was an incredible project, peeling back the layers and deciding what story wanted to come out of me, right? Because first you're like, is anyone going to read this? Do they care? And you're like, no, wait a minute. I just want to really take a deep breath here and say, like, what story needs to come out of me? And that authenticity and that rawness, that's where the magic is, but that's also, it's very, very vulnerable. Yeah. And I had to take some time to go into that space. And I'll be forever grateful for that opportunity to, I released a lot, not necessarily in the words or on the pages, but I released a lot in me. And I realized that I was telling myself so many untrue stories. Like I'm getting a little emotional right now, because then that's when we realized, wow, I was really not just self-sabotaging, but I was so mean to myself, and that's really when a lot of this, like, what's your story? And a lot of that has been birthed from that, because I love talking to women like we just talked about, but like the story that you're telling over and over and over in the way that you're talking about yourself or your way that you're talking about the situation, like, honey, it's not true.
Yeah.
And that's what I got to through writing my story. And I was like, well, fuck, I've held on to that for a long time and I didn't need to, right? Shit. And then so that was Warrior Women. And that was great. We went up to Manhattan and we had a big kickoff and it was super fun. And then almost like, when it rains, it pours. Right after that, I got an invitation to be part of another book. Not so coincidentally, it was called Outside the Box.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. And that was, I was in a lot of different world school groups. And, maybe you and I can talk about this after the podcast, because that's, unschooling, world schooling, homeschooling. And it was a woman in my group, and she wrote, I think, 8 books. And she's on one of my podcasts, actually, Sarah Tyler. So I talked, it was not as deep. It was more of fun of my journey, kind of my life path on what I did and how I navigated that and the fun I had. And
I love it. Yeah. The writing, thank you for really beautifully demonstrating how deep it can be to share your story and go into those layers and get it out onto paper and get it edited. And it's so vulnerable. And what a beautiful way to heal. I think writing is really a beautiful form of healing. Before I started publicly sharing, I think I started journaling when I was 17, and now I'm about to be 40. So it was like free therapy. It was processing. It was a confidant, it was like close friend. And I had to do that for years before I could get to a place with my writing where I wanted to like share it with the world and start opening up about it. Right now I'm at level 3 of edits of my book. So I've done like the word edit, the line by line edit type of thing, the structural edit. And now I'm at the place where I need to go back and fit in about 12 to 15 deep personal stories. And that is always the hardest part. I'm a Capricorn. I'm like, oh, structure, education, systems, strategies, fucking got it. Okay. Tell the deep stories about my mom dying and having miscarriages while my mom was dying at the same fucking time, and how that has to do with soul purpose and my job. okay, let me just bawl my eyes out as I'm processing this and putting it out there. And I'm like, but that's why people will read books. It's the storytelling, it's not the strategy. They want to feel connected to each other through those pages, to the author, to the writer of it. So that's where I'm at, Cathy, in my book.
Well, congratulations. That's amazing. Congratulations. I just want to shine that back to you, girl, because, you know, it's like this deeper calling to like drag us through like the depths of our soul. It's like, this is the only thing I could do. It's kind of like, I think what like musicians maybe feel, but maybe not exactly, but on some level, right? Because if we're not showing up, continuously healing and continuously going through this, thing that we're meant for, if we're not doing it authentically, then it's number one, there's no reason to do it. Number two, it doesn't say too much about, our coaching and all. It's so wrapped up in it all. So anyway, congratulations to you. I can't wait for that to come out. If you ever need a sounding board, I would love to listen and be that cheerleader for you.
I can't wait to listen to your podcast too. I need to go look it up. Well, at the end, I'll make sure we have links in the call and all of that stuff. But what's the name of the podcast for anyone who's like listening right now?
And Then What Happened?
And Then What Happened? Where'd you get that name?
I don't know. I remember putting out, so it was in 2019 and I put it out, or 2018 actually. And I put it out and I just put a poll. I knew it wanted to be storytelling. And I said, is it And Then What Happened or Tell Me a Story? Mm-hmm. And it was like overwhelmingly And Then What Happened?
Yes.
And I got the graphic. I went to podcasting classes and all this thing. I had people over and I did all the things. And again, COVID hit and I never even recorded an episode. And it was 2 years after living here. I was like, wow. It just kind of came to me divinely. And it was like, now's your time to do this. So I actually kept the same graphic because it just meant a lot to me. I kept the same structure of it. And yeah, it's been great. I mean, I'm super passionate about it. I love it. I think podcasting is a really beautiful way to share, stories like what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And help, right? And just be that reflection to whoever needs it. I know there's a ton of different kinds of podcasts, but at least for our space, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, like honestly, it kind of just came to me. I'm a generator. I would love to know your human design. Have you ever done your human design and figured that out?
I think I'm a generator.
Yeah,
I'm kind of late to all of this. Maybe my age, I'm just, I don't love labels, but I'm going, all right, well, let's see and I think I did it. Is that an 8? Oh, that's the Enneagram. I did that.
I love the Enneagram too. Yeah. Wait, you're definitely a generator. And I'd be willing to bet you have a 6 in your line profile. You remember the numbers?
For Enneagram?
No, for the human design, the generator one.
I don't know, but I'd love to talk about it sometime.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I just love it because it's like, again, I'm like, we're humans on planet Earth. But then at the same time, you see these things and you're like, oh my God, that's so me. And you're like, oh, wait, I can stop apologizing for that. That's just who I am. You know what I mean? Like having an insane amount of energy that most people can't handle. It's like, nope, that's actually my design. You know what I mean? Like, I just got to enjoy what the good universe, what the good Lord gave me and get it out to the world. Some things like that where I usually find this stuff being like, yep, I can. It's like a permission slip to just be yourself, when we do like the astrology, human design, and all these personality tests. It's just fun. Okay, but yeah, you're definitely a generator for sure.
Awesome.
We just want to create. You've got that natural, but also we respond. That's why you having a podcast, me having us talking to people, we do really well in response to the needs of the people around us, in response to the questions and what's going on. And if we don't have that, we just are in that neutral space, relaxing in that neutral space. I mean, I don't need to create right now. I have no juice. I have no power to create right now. Let me go learn something. Let me go read,
Mm.
let me go watch a really good documentary right now, right? Like little things like that have helped me be like, oh, I'm stuck in neutral. Why won't this thing come out? Why can't I? I can't go. I've now realized like, oh, I'm a generator. Stop. Go watch Chef's Table.
Yeah.
Go pick up Wild and Free. Go read.
Yeah.
Go out in nature. You know what I mean? It's a good one.
That's awesome. That definitely resonates with me. I think, yeah, okay. I'm inspired to plug a little bit into this.
Uh-huh.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thanks.
Okay. Okay. I feel like it's already 2:50. I'm like, oh my God. We could just talk to you forever. This could just go on and on. Okay, so you're in books, you've got a podcast, you've got your own coaching company. Let's ask, do you have anything in the pipeline? Do you have a new creation coming out? What are you working on? What's Cathy working on these days?
I'm working on retreats.
Woo!
I have put retreats, right when I first moved, I kind of threw it out. But again, I felt like I was yelling into the abyss because I'm not poor me. I'm not poor meing. But, it's like, where's my community? So then, I'm like, all right, well, like, let's build this community back up, right?
Yeah.
Let's really nourish this and love it and, fertilize it and water it and give it some sunlight. And, I'm at the point now, it's like, okay, I want to bring a retreat to my community. So I'm still working out the details. Again, maybe some of this human design stuff will actually help me.
Mm-hmm.
How, my full intention, I'm still becoming clear on my intention for the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really, really super excited about that. I'm speaking in collaboration with a couple women. I do have incredible friends here who do their own retreats. So I've spoken at many retreats here, which is super cool. And a lot of it is based around those stories or values, foundational building blocks that we all, think that we're too far along to go back. And so, that's in the pipeline right now for sure. Mm-hmm. And scaling my business. I'm going kind of back to the basics also with the business aspect of it, because as creators, I'm like, oh, my business is, it is, I need more structure to it to help more women. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
That is the theme of this year as well.
Right?
Yeah, I just, right before I recorded my February, I do an astro energy oracle call. It's an astro energy call with my astrologer in Portugal. And we're both Capricorns. And we get there every month and just like jam and just channel together and just like talk and ground with like, what's the energy of the astrology coming out right now? And really we're looking at like the year. And even though it is such like some of the themes were like chaos and order, creation and restriction, that like really being tapped in and like connected to that universal flow, but also then like grounding it into our work, grounding it into the earth, into ourselves, and embodiment. And a lot of us are going back to basics on this, like being like, well, we can't grow and we can't expand unless the foundation is actually set. Right. So you're right on track. Thank
you for validating that for me. I really appreciate it. And this is the mastermind, right? You and I doing this together. But it is, and I talk about it all the time. Like if your foundational building blocks are like, either non-existent or cracked, like how can we move, right? If we're going to build our values, this is having a set of values that you are reinforcing creates stronger boundaries. Stronger boundaries like helps you, do everything really. So yeah. And again, just going back to like women, right? It's not about the patriarchal system, but it's about women right now are creating such a magical structure. And I feel like we're a few, maybe, like 2 generations in, and women are just doing such incredible things that now we have these incredible role models. Now we can be in these groups together.
Yes.
And we can, and we are creating our own way. And it's different from what it was. But anyway, getting back to the roots, right? Yeah.
Great. This is great. I have I have 60 to 70-year-old clients that I love, females that are like getting into those retirement years, 50, 60, 70, and being like, no, I'm actually just getting started with the soul.
Mm.
I mean, it's all Earth Classroom. It's all soul purpose, but literally getting to that retirement year and being like, oh no, I'm just kicking this off. Like one of my clients, I helped her make like $80,000 in her retirement years already of her own, right? Like so great. And then I had another woman who was like doing like aging gracefully and aging academy, and she's a menopause coach and a strength coach.
Wow.
And she was the one who told me statistically by 2030, there will be 1 billion postmenopausal women on the planet. This is the age of wisdom for women is upon us. The grandmothers are about to take the fuck over. And I don't mean that everyone has to be a grandma, but like the wise woman is being resurrected from within us and on the planet. And now we've got a voice. And now we've got say, and now we've got power and position, publicity, and being able to like have visibility. This is huge. This is huge.
We have a platform, right? And it's really funny. I'm 56 years old, and I'm really in the middle of menopause right now. And it's weird and it's crazy and I get sad, but I see all these women, in their 20s, and like, fuck, why couldn't I have known that then? And then I'm like, all right, like I'm supposed to be here now, and stepping into that wisdom again, it can be really bittersweet, but just embracing it and knowing again, like what you're talking about, that all these women came before me and they're waiting for me, and there's a place, and it's just beautiful and it's magical. And this is what we're doing right now on the planet together.
Literally right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also, we needed you
crazy.
having a great old time in Hilton Head at 22. What do you mean? That's where you don't need to be on Get Ready With Me fucking videos putting 17 layers of makeup on your face. Are you kidding me? Like, aren't you so glad we had the youth we had without the internet, the phones, social media?
I traveled all over the country. I didn't even know where I was. Nobody knew where I was. It was actual like freedom. Like it was so you had to call your parents collect.
Yes.
Here for me for weeks, and nobody knew where I was, and it was crazy, and it was so cool. And I was laughing with friends, like I don't go to the bathroom without my phone now, in case I fall off the toilet, I need to call for help, but before I was in the middle of nowhere. And it's a different world, obviously, but it's all good. It's all good.
I had my brothers with me this weekend, and they're 15, and my mom had kids 20 years gap. And they're like 15 and 17. And we're just like hanging out talking about it. And I can like go down like conspiracy theory kind of pipelines with them and like have fun with them on that and kind of explore the rabbit hole with them a little. And then like they're telling me like one of them's like, I've been saving the videos I saved to my profile on Instagram are how young single men keep their houses tidy. I'm like, you're 17. What the fuck do you mean? That he's like, yeah, that's who I look at. I'm like, I'm not telling you what I was doing at 17, okay?
Right.
Passed out in a field with 45 other people running from the cops or something. Like, no, like God,
at the bonfire.
Yeah, at a bonfire with our parents had no fucking clue where we were. Like, oh my God.
Totally.
So yeah, totally. God knows what these amazing generations are like. Sometimes, because I'm in this world, right? And then I hear like, oh, a 16-year-old just got like certified in yoga. I'm like, 16? What?
Seriously, girl, give me your
Right? Like 12-year-olds go learning Reiki and Reikiing themselves. I'm like, oh, what are these kids gonna do? Because watch out. It's cool to see what they're doing. But yeah, also at the same time, that's why I have my kids outside too. I'm like, we're learning outside. We're educating outside. And it's fucking cold up here, Cathy.
No, we can laugh, Jayme, totally. You could be like, dude, give me your phone. Like go mess up your house, right? We can laugh about that, but we're all on our own soul's journey.
Right.
And for all of us to really like lean into that and be aware of that. And if you're brother, is home cleaning his house and does videos on that. Like, God love him.
Right?
He's literally going to improve someone else's life because of that. I don't think I know for a fact I was not improving anyone's life at 17, but making up for it now.
Hey, but it's a story in our book. It's a story in our book.
It's funny. Everyone says, life is short. Life is short. And I know, like, tragically it can be. But I always say, like, life is long. Like, you can continue to reinvent yourself. You can take deep breaths, and you can wait for it to unfold, and you can continue to create and use your imagination and walk your path. It doesn't have to all come so fast. You don't have to figure it all out right now. I had a baby at 44 years old, and moved to Costa Rica when I 52 years old. Like,
right.
Life is long. And it's a magical journey, and I don't know, I'm here for it, and I know that you're here for it, and just super grateful that we're getting to know each other. This is fun.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what I name this podcast episode. It's going to be so good. Okay. Oh, this was supposed to be like 30 minutes, but you are so entertaining. I'm glad we talked to you all these levels here. And I would love to just keep in touch with you on the side. Why don't you let them know? I know we'll have show notes. I'll have your links in your show notes, but what's the best way for them to get in touch with you for anyone who's listening right now?
Facebook, Cathy Tallone. I just started a new Facebook group. It's just a community group. It's called And Then What Happened. I think it's called A Place Where Women Tell Stories. Cool. So I'm doing that community, but just Cathy Tallone is my fairly active platform. I dip into Instagram once in a while, but not too much. CathyTallone.com is my website. And then What Happened is my podcast, and that's on all major platforms.
Are you looking for people to be on your podcast? Because I feel like a lot of the women listening here, like this is your crew, right? People with good stories, listening to people like us, they might go, oh my God, I have a story I want to share. Are you looking for that?
Right now, I'm pretty good because I do one solo episode a month, and I do one with someone, and I have scheduled women for the next few months. So
good for you.
Now I'm good. Yeah. I'm fortunate. I know amazing women. So
this is amazing. I know. I have my whole year's booked out.
Exactly.
I put it in that group. I had to shut the thing down after 53 women signed up. I was like, oh my God.
Women love telling stories, right? So yeah, let's hear it. Yeah.
It can be that easy, right? To just like build up, open, like build it, they will come. Totally. All right.
Yes, sister. I love what you're building. You're amazing.
I love what you're building. Maybe we'll be on your retreats. Anyone listening right now, maybe we'll be heading to one of your retreats.
That sounds fabulous. I'll let you know.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. To the viewers listening to this, the viewers, the listeners, whatever it is, LOL. Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode, and we will see you next time. Bye.